Thank you. So I'm going to call our meeting to order. It's May 19th. This is the Newmarket Town Council, and we will start, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And the first item on our agenda is for the public forum. And is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak this evening? Now would be the time.
And if you're on Zoom and you wish to speak in public forum, could you please use the raise hand feature?
Thank you. And if you can go ahead. If you could just state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Mark Cahan, 219 New Road. I understand that the mask mandate is on the agenda for tonight. Is now the proper time to? Okay. A couple weeks ago, we voted to keep it by a 5-2 vote. Since then, the CDC has reversed course on it, and every place around is rescinding the mandatory use of the mask. Anybody who still wishes to wear a mask, I think they're foolish, but that's their right. Go ahead, wear it. I was a little bit disappointed to hear, I believe it was Councilor Blackstone last week, insinuate that the merchants of town were not capable of making up their decision as to wearing the mask. I believe he said that they would be on the front lines. Well, if they can figure out your tax laws, they can figure out if they want to have a person, wearing a mask in their store or not. Councilor John in Boston, I mean, you have that right. If you don't want people in your place, then say masks are required. Nobody, okay, I'm going to look, say, I don't have a mask, I'm going to go, there's nothing next door, but I'm going to go someplace else. That's it. And it's going to sunset regardless in a couple of weeks. But here we are, 15 months after I was told that we need 15 days. Well, I want to know, come June 7th, are you going to continue it, or can we, put an end to this nightmare and rescind the mandatory use of the mask? Put that to the town council.
Thank you. Is there anyone on Zoom?
I do not see any hands raised on Zoom.
Then I will close the public forum at 7:15. And before we do anything else, I would accept a motion to seal the minutes from our non-public meeting.
I'll make a motion to seal the minutes from the non-public meeting from May 19th.
I will second that.
Any questions or comments about sealing the minutes? If you could call the roll, please.
Councilor Duma?
Aye.
Councilor Sanders?
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Raybeck?
Aye.
Councilor Baker?
Aye.
Councilor Conley?
Aye.
Councilor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
So our next item on the agenda, we have some minutes to approve. And the first is from the May 5th non-public meeting, and I would accept a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 5th non-public meeting.
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilor Duma?
Aye.
Councilor Sanders?
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Raybeck?
Aye.
Councilor Baker?
Aye.
Councilor Conley?
Aye.
Councilor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And then the next item that we have are the regular meeting minutes from May 5th, and I would accept a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 5th public meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Any questions, changes? Seeing none, if you could call the roll.
Councilor Duma?
Aye.
Councilor Sanders?
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Raybeck?
Aye.
Councilor Baker?
Aye.
Councilor Conley?
Aye.
Councilor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And then the next item is the town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First item in my report is to give an update on the COVID-19 pandemic. As of May 10th, we have 20, or 0.2% of the active cases, and 558 cumulative cases. Of these, 14% were in an institutional setting. As of today, we are now in the 1 to 4 range, which means that the state will not give us a exact number because it's too low, which is good to hear. I mean, we haven't been that way in a long time. As I mentioned in my report, we were beginning to see the plateau. We're actually seeing it drop. We've always, and the mindset now, in which we've talked with Homeland Security, is that at this point in time, we're going to always have a percentage of the population with COVID-19 unless it's eradicated. There was recently an article in the Boston Globe that with the mindset of fighting COVID now would switch from fighting a pandemic to dealing with it like we do periodic viruses, like H1N1, well, it's not those kind of items that we know it's going to pop up every so often. As for vaccination, as of May 10th, 746,072 people in New Hampshire have received their first dose of the vaccination, or 55%, and 545,542, or 40%, are fully vaccinated. A couple things that have come about since my report. That one thing that it was interesting that Homeland Security, at the beginning of the pandemic, we had daily calls, including weekends, to discuss what was going on. We were been for the last 3 or 4 months on a weekly call on Wednesdays. We are now reducing further to about every other week, with probably something further in the summer. So it's an interesting state. In addition, that they are going to be shutting down the mass vaccination sites for first-time shots, and it will be only for second-time as they begin to phase it out of distributing vaccinations that way to your medical provider or pharmacies. So they'll be getting out of that. And as you know, the CDC recently allowed for the Pfizer vaccine to be administered to individuals as low as 12 years of age. We have worked with our partners at the Seacoast Health Network and the Newmarket School District, and will hold a vaccination clinic for students on Saturday, May 22nd, with the second clinic on June 12th. We've ordered 260 doses to be distributed. Rick, do you know the times off the top of your head? 9 to 1. So, in addition, if they cannot make that one, there will be another mass one at the Exeter High School in the coming weeks, and we'll get more information on that as well. Now to the fiscal year 21 budget. At the end of April 2021, we've expended 80% of the operating budget and remain on track to come in slightly lower. There's nothing really out of the ordinary. Legal is running higher due to personnel issues, and roadways and sidewalks are running over due to engineering costs. On the revenue side, we're actually running slightly above where we should be. Motor vehicle registrations, however, are lower than they were at this point last year, as are building permits. I was trying to figure out why, but as you probably see in the news lately, cars are difficult to buy right now due to chips and other items, so then people aren't buying the new cars. And wood is the other issue that's having it. And so we're thinking that may be the issue with those two kinds of permits, because last year at this time everybody was building at home because they had nothing else to do, and surprising people were buying cars. Luckily, we did receive an additional $114,113 in municipal aid this year. The next item is the American Rescue Plan Act. As you're all aware, the federal government approved the what we call ARPA as a $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. As part of that, they're providing $130 billion directly to municipalities and counties. We're estimating that Newmarket will be receiving directly $910,000. We received the following guidance on what the money can be used on May 10th. One, we can use it to respond to public health emergency with respect to COVID-19 or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits, or aid impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. For the provision of government services to the extent that the reduction in revenue due to the public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent full fiscal year. We can make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure, or include premium pay for eligible workers performing essential work during the pandemic. And these funds must be used by December 31st, 2024. And some other key provisions. One, states aren't allowed to use the funds directly or indirectly offset a reduction in net tax revenue that results from a change in law, regulation, or administrative interpretation during the covered period to reduce any tax. So the state can't say, well, you're getting 910,000, so we're going to reduce your somewhere else by 910,000. We can't put it in a pension fund, but we don't have one. And state and local governments are allowed to transfer to private nonprofit organizations a public benefit corporation involved in the transportation of passengers or cargo or a special purpose unit of state and local government. We're currently working on plans for these funds. We're also still trying to hammer out what we can and cannot do, because these are very vague guidelines. I was in a seminar on Monday, and we'll be in another one next Wednesday with the National League of Cities. One thing that's interesting with this one, unlike other disasters that we've had, is that it's not going to the state. It's going directly from the feds to us. So the state's not going to take any off the top like they've had in other disasters. So it's interesting the way it is. In addition, we were notified that there are community project funds that members of our congressional delegation can distribute to complete projects. We submitted a number to Congressman Pappas's office, and the completion of the bunk rooms at the fire station was moved forward to the next round. However, it was not ultimately chosen. However, Senator Shaheen's office is going through a similar process and will be submitting again. And finally, as you know, I've entered into agreement with MRI to examine our planning, zoning, and code enforcement department and how we're going to best have maintain those items in the future. And that's all I have tonight, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for the town manager? Either on the report or the department reports? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. First item in, committee reports. Are there any committee reports? Councilor Blackstone.
The planning board met last week, and there were 3 issues. One is Bay Road is a federal scenic highway, and Eversource wants to do tree trimming on Bay Road, and so they need permission to do that. So we gave them permission pending that it's all done with chainsaws, none of this hacking stuff. There's a bicycle shop being put together, as we mentioned last time, on Chapel Street. That was given approval pending a few things which the person applying has agreed to do. So that's basically done. The bicycle shop, I assume, will be in there shortly. There is a condo development going on Old Ash Swamp Road. It's very early phases, but they've purchased some land and they've started clearing it, and they're starting an application process. And then we had another big discussion about Neal Mill Road. This time, if you remember, last time the CELT brought in a lawyer who very aggressively presented their case. So the client now has gotten rid of their old lawyer and hired a new lawyer, presumably somebody higher powered. But after a lot of discussion, the planning board has decided that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of technical work to decide how this could proceed if it was going to proceed. So as a simple example, the road right now has pedestrian traffic, it has bicycle traffic, and it has wheelchair traffic. And now we're talking about introducing vehicle traffic on that road. And then it's a state road, so anybody in Newmarket can drive on it. Does that mean they can park on it? There's no parking in that area. The road would have to be raised up because the waterway through there, it would be flooding the road, right? So if you raise the road, you have to put in culverts. If you do that, then you change vernal pools, and so you have to bring biologists in. So it would be a lot of work to do this. And so the planning board said, look, the only place that can actually approve this is the town council. They can only make sure it fits all the requirements, right? So they said, before we do all this work, we're gonna ask the town council what they think. So a letter has been written to the town council, and in that letter, they say, basically, we'd like to know your opinion on this, and you have the option of the town council can do all the technical work, or you can throw it back to us and we'll do the technical work. And then they finally request that if it's not approved, then they would like it to be re-registered as a Class A trail to prevent this from going on and on and on, which would match so the road goes through to Newfield. And in Newfield, they've already changed it to a Class A trail. So that would make it, the whole thing would then match up. Right? Because there's an adjoining road there called the old Lee Road. And if you raised up that road, then what do you do with that road? And it gets complicated. So I'm expecting that we will have a lot of audience participation when, when we discuss that.
Thank you. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Councilor Blackstone, you said that there a condo development on Ash Swamp Road? Is that?
Yeah, I don't have the address right with me, but
I'll look through the minutes. I'm curious. I live on Ash Swamp Road, so I'm just curious where that would be.
it was a 5-acre lot. He bought, he tore down, there was like a house and a barn. He tore them down, I think probably maybe a couple years ago.
Oh.
It's called like North something Realty or North Star, no, I can send it to you, the information.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
it'd
can
be in
take
the
a look.
minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
And he's now, it's a guy from Alton.
Any other committee reports?
You can go if you want. Oh, mine's long.
The Arts and Tourism Commission met last night, and we're working on the next thing, which is joining with the Newmarket Rec and the Newmarket Business Association to work on Arts in the Park this summer. And we'll be lining up artists. There will be one artist every night. There's a concert to display their work, and we're also working on coming up with some fundraising ideas.
Great. Councilor Brayback.
I have 2 committee updates. The Riverfront Advisory Committee met this week, yesterday? What is time? And Steve was gracious enough to join us and answer some questions. So we're, no big updates other than we got a lot of questions answered so we can move forward with our grant proposal to DES to hire a contractor. We're potentially considering looking at the project as phases to allow us to move forward on pieces without being stuck waiting for other pieces. So for example, Shanda Park being a phase and the bridge being another phase, but everything is still open for consideration there. And then Conservation Commission met last week. Our guest speaker was Mr. Fox Composting, so I just wanted to remind the town that we have that great service, and thanks again to Energy and Environment for their work making that happen. They're working on some new signage for Wigan Farm because the old signs are really faded. It's looking at some aluminum signs, which look really beautiful. I'm really excited about that. And they're also potentially interested in discussion around the dog ordinance, which currently allows dogs off leash at Wigan Farm. And so they're interested from a conservation perspective, potentially reevaluating that. And then they also wrote a letter with their opinion on the Neal Mill Road project, and that is being sent to us and should be on our next agenda. So I'll let it speak for itself when that comes along. And then also just announcing an upcoming event on Wednesday, June 2nd. Kevin Martin is, it's an event co-sponsored with the library, Big Trees of New Hampshire. That's at 7:30 on Zoom, and there's a few Newmarket trees that are highlighted in that event. So if you're into trees, go to the library website.
Any other committee reports? No, I would just mention that the licensing board met for the first time this week, and we reviewed 3 applications for events at the Stone Church, and I don't have the dates in front of me, but they were Thursday evenings, all in July.
1st, 8th, and 29th.
I'm sorry?
1st, 8th, and 29th.
Thank you. And so we approved, outdoor entertainment on those evenings with sound checks at 3 and then entertainment from 6 to 9. And that's all I have. So seeing no other committee reports, we will move on to resolutions or ordinances in the second reading. And so the first item that we have, oh, it's not,
You don't have it?
no. It says it's been removed from the agenda. Do other people have the ordinance?
Yeah.
Do,
Yeah, I've got it. I mean, it's emergency ordinance number 6, 2021, mandatory mask and face coverings.
I refreshed and there it was. Look at that. Thank you. So is there a motion?
I will make a motion to repeal ordinance number 6, 2020/2021, reaffirming wearing face coverings.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I'll open it up for discussion. Counselor Kuiper.
I think it's, at least my opinion, that we have tried pretty hard to follow the CDC guidelines as they have evolved through this pandemic, and I think it would be wrong for us to not to continue to follow them. And they're directing us that we don't need to wear masks in certain situations, and I mean, they knew when UNH was going to end and have the graduation. They knew when college graduations happened, and you know, I think we should follow their guidelines. I don't think we know better than them. At least I don't know better than the CDC. I also think it would be, for my personal situation, it would be helpful to be able to say to my employees that are vaccinated, you know, when we're closing at the end of the night and it's just us three, if you guys are all vaccinated, you can not wear masks. And for those that are holdouts about the vaccination, that are on the fence, if I said to them, hey, you don't have to wear a mask, you know, when we're closing or when you're in the morning doing prep, that could be a big incentive for people to get vaccinated that aren't. I mean, definitely taking away the mask mandate, I don't really think is going to change a lot of things. I think the same businesses are going to require them that do now. I think that there's some businesses that won't, and they probably weren't really enforcing it to begin with. So I just personally think, you know, at some point we're going to have to do it. The CDC is saying now is the time, so at this point, to me, it's time.
Thank you. Counselor Conley.
I think my primary rationale for keeping the mandate in place at the last meeting was to make sure that the businesses had enough time to adequately kind of be prepared for this shift, so that the rug wasn't pulled out from under them and they had time to get more masks or do whatever. I do think that the shift in the CDC guidelines has you know, provided, at least for folks, some heads up that that the recommendations are changing. So I think that's I agree with you. I think it's right and appropriate to follow, to continue to trust the CDC.
Can I just ask for clarification? My understanding was that the CDC's recommendation was that vaccinated maskless, not that we necessarily needed to get rid of all mask mandates. Is that correct?
That's correct. CDC guideline states if you are vaccinated in your 2 week, if you received your second shot or your first shot, if it's Johnson & Johnson, and it's 2 weeks out, you no longer need to wear a mask in, I'm looking at the picture in my mind, all those situations. If you are not vaccinated, then yes, you would, I'm not saying require, because you can't require, they're requesting you to wear a mask in, again, certain situations. And it's not as wide as it used to be. Like outside events,
Right.
you do not, but inside restaurants, those kind of items. Yeah, so that's the guidelines from CDC.
Counselor Blackstone.
Yeah, so Steve's plan that he put out for his people literally follows the CDC guideline. And the only reason that he can do that, and John can do that, is he can demand to know if you're vaccinated. He doesn't have to guess, right? And employers can request that. So doing it now is not following the CDC guideline. You're absolutely correct. I would like to maybe do a compromise. I personally believed that the UNH graduation did represent a potential super spreader event, and delaying it until after that was a valid solution. The reason that I wear a mask here is because there is a class of people in Newmarket who cannot get vaccinated. And one of them is my 2-year-old granddaughter. And so I'm very, the last thing I would want to do is give her COVID, right? And we now know from the Yankees that people who are fully vaccinated can get COVID and spread it. But everybody downtown, all the businesses that I know of, the word is out that mask is ending in June, whatever, 7th, 9th, whatever the date is. And you see people preparing and making changes to go. I think the big criticism that you read in the papers or on the internet, whatever, of the CDC announcement is that it was so abrupt. So I would like to propose that if we make the change, we say it's implemented on Monday morning so that Friday, we can have big headline in our Friday report, it's ending. Because as you know, those of you who are parents, the little kids are wearing masks because there's some story that they were given, right? To convince them to do it. And parents would want to be able to then say, well, okay, now things are changing, and it takes a while to get the kids, back into the thing of where all of a sudden nobody's wearing masks anymore. And because we don't want the little kids to say, well, gee, if my parents didn't tell me the truth on this one, maybe there's something else they're not telling me the truth about. So I think rather than do something abruptly, I think at least if we give some warning and we let parents, particularly parents of unvaccinatable kids, a few days so they can at least, do whatever they want to do. That's my proposal.
Thank you. Councilor Dumont.
Sure. I keep voting against the mask mandate because I don't agree with government mandates on personal behavior. I was disappointed but understood why the council made their previous vote at our last meeting to continue until the UNH graduation event. And I get it. There are some folks out there who are afraid of what could happen if they catch COVID-19. We have seen reasons for why people should be afraid if they catch COVID-19. There are a lot of people who are no longer here now because they caught the virus. And I don't think anybody's discounting that. It's not a good situation to be in to have this illness. It was very stressful for our medical systems, for our communities to deal with the impact. But we've been doing this for 15 months. And I think that everybody in our entire nation knew that at some point, we were going to get to a point where COVID-19 was going to enter into the regular, average, everyday bulk of possible contagions that you could get, because that is what happens with diseases. That's what happens with influenza. That is what happens with other flus out there. We saw it with the swine flu back in 2010, whenever it was. And I get it. I understand the safety net that the masks can offer, the comfort that they can provide for individuals. And I don't think that there is anybody who's currently sitting here right now who would go out of their way to make life difficult for somebody else for choosing to wear a mask. I understand that there is a subset of the population who have been rallying against them for a long time now. But I believe that Newmarket is very fairly at a point where we can tell businesses that they can choose to continue to wear masks, but we're no longer going to force everyday individuals what to do when they're out in public, when they want to go somewhere. If they choose to associate without wearing a mask, that is a personal choice. People in this community are adults. They understand common sense and personal choice. And I think that for the individuals who have children, it is going to be a conversation with them, just like it was 15 months ago, and they said, hey, you should wear this because, we need to do it to keep you safe. I don't think that that conversation is going to change terribly, in such a dramatic way that it's going to be incredibly difficult or awkward. I have an 8-year-old sister at my parents' house. My parents asked her to wear a mask. She wore the mask. Why? Because she trusts my parents in the same way that I wore a mask in here full time when our town manager asked us to, because our emergency management team thought that that was the best thing to do. Our emergency management team has now said that they want to stick with the recommendation that we don't necessarily need this ordinance anymore, because the CDC is now starting to loosen things up, because they're putting the power back in the hands of average everyday people to give them the choice to make their own health decisions. We all know fast food's bad for us. A lot of people still eat it, and there are risks for it. There are a lot of things that people do, there are a lot of choices that people make that probably aren't in the best, good health sense for them. It happens. But I think we're at the point now where businesses have known that this was coming. Individuals have known that this is coming. They can still wear masks if they want to. I'm not going to point and laugh at them. I'm not going to, kick somebody out of my store because they want to wear a mask. I still wear a mask in my company, and I still ask that my employees do, to make sure that my customers feel comfortable. But I think it's time to let it go. I don't think that we should promote the notion that we're going to have some massive super spreader event because we have a college 2 miles down the road. I think that even when UNH was there full time with as many people as they did have, they were managing it responsibly. The town of Durham and the administration at UNH worked very quickly to nip spread in the bud as quickly as they could to make sure that there weren't significant severe outbreaks that could have been more problematic. And I think our town manager can point to some of the concerns that we had at the beginning with school going back into session, what we thought could have happened, and I don't think it was ever as bad as we thought it could have been, So, I would like us to rescind this tonight. I think it's time.
Thank you. Councilor Raybeck.
I think that there are a few logical fallacies that I'm hearing here. One has been mentioned, that the CDC recommendation is not that we stop wearing masks, it's that vaccinated people no longer need them, which are two very different things. The second being that wearing a mask isn't a matter of personal safety, it's about protecting other people, similar to how you're not allowed to smoke in restaurants, right? It's because other people would have to inhale your smoke, other people have to be near your breath. I work at the university, so I'm not here representing the university in any way, shape, or form, but I do see the preparations that are happening for commencement. Parents are going to be coming from out of state to attend commencement and staying at hotels and going to restaurants and businesses, likely here in Newmarket. I would rather we stop having this conversation and let it go until June, as we've discussed every meeting, but if it's the feeling of the council that that's not something we're willing to do, I would, maybe I'm not ready to make a motion, but I would be interested in exploring the idea of at least waiting until Monday for a change to go into effect so that it's after commencement is done.
If everyone has had the opportunity to speak, I just wanted to say just a couple of things. My position really hasn't changed since our last meeting. I do think that we are at a point where we know so much more now than we did back in August. We just have more information. We have the ability to be vaccinated. I don't think that anyone wants the town or agents of the town to be asking people whether or not they are vaccinated. I would never put our administration in that position, because that's kind of what we would be headed toward, right? Because I'm fully vaccinated, so that means I don't have to wear a mask, and that's what the CDC is saying. So how do we regulate that? And I think it's impossible to regulate. I think that we are at a point where we have to have some personal responsibility. As far as graduation goes, I will say that the town of Durham voted, I believe last night, to rescind their mask ordinance, their mask mandate. So there is no mask mandate in Durham. They changed their guidelines, and so it's a suggestion rather than a mandate. Again, I guess my position hasn't changed. I'm sure that UNH will continue to require mask wearing. My son's school, they will continue to require mask wearing through the end of the school year. That will be the norm. I don't know what the regulations will be for camp. I will also say that I was on a walk with the Sunrise Sunset Center today, and a group of individuals who you might think, because they're like a fairly risky group, but they've all been vaccinated, and they all wore their masks the whole time we were on the trail, as they did last week and the week before, but they're done. They don't want to wear masks anymore. I had a conversation with a couple of the ladies who said, please try to rescind this tonight. So I think that that's the general feeling. Not that that's how, I think that we should follow the CDC guidelines, and I think that that needs to be what guides us, not anecdotal, stories from the community, but that is sort of where people are headed. I think that mind, people have shifted their thoughts about the mask ordinances. So again, my position hasn't changed.
I just wanted to clarify that, just kids still have to wear masks because they're definitely not vaccinated if they're under 12. The school, I'm sure, will continue to require masks. Just wanted to clear that up.
If I may, for the enforcement what happens next stage, if this were to pass. One, you did see the memo from the emergency management team. One of our big concerns we had this discussion prior, after the last meeting, and now, then last Thursday with the CDC's announcement, it came even more forward that enforcement is going to be extremely difficult because people are just getting mixed messages everywhere. We thought at first when the state repealed the mandatory mask mandate that was going to have some pushback. It really didn't. We have had no fines given out during the entire pandemic because of not wearing masks. People still did because they felt comfortable, and we still encourage everybody, and we will continue to have that message that if you want to wear a mask, you have every right to do that. And we're going to also ask that people do not harass businesses or private locations that want to continue to have a mask rules in their business. That is their private business, and that's their decision. If you don't want to wear a mask, you do not have to go in. Think of no shirts, no shoes, no service. Now add a mask to it. Period. That's going to be our message. As you know, on the town side, as Councilor Blackstone mentioned, if this passes, I'll issue an emergency order on as soon as possible that employees, if you're within 6 feet of each other, you'll have to wear a mask unless you provide us with a vaccination record, and then you would not have to wear a mask. We couldn't, and if it happens as well, the public, when coming in, will encourage people to wear masks, but they will not have to wear a mask. So it will go back to somewhat other situations. As for schools, my understanding, which again, last thing I knew, they'd wait till the school year to end before changing any rules. Recreation, we'll have that discussion soon. But you'll also see increasing numbers. I know we mentioned where would we meet after this if this happens. I can tell you that between Thursday and today, the Seacoast city managers have been emailing each other constantly, seeing what the other one's going to do. And we were the first to put our toe in the water a couple weeks ago, and Durham was the first one to pull the trigger, for lack of a better term. So we're already working on it, getting things ready in case it happens. But that's the message will be. We encourage, if you're not, I don't want to sound like the president, but you're not vaxxed, wear a mask. go that route. We encourage people to get vaccinated. There's no reason why you can't, unless you don't want one or there's a medical reason. There's enough of them out there that you can get one. So, yeah, that's what we're going to change our messaging to that. The fire chief has a comment as well.
I just wanted to say, I'm aware that the university, anyone wanting to attend graduation ceremonies has to have a negative COVID test or proof that they've been vaccinated to attend. So if they don't do that, they cannot attend the events. And that's been made real clear to the people taking part, so.
That's good to know. I think there's gonna be a lot more of that. Any other comments? Seeing none, if you could call the roll. And so again, a yay vote is to rescind the ordinance, a nay vote is to keep it, just so everybody's
So
clear.
yay is rescinding.
Yes.
I did have another.
Oh, sure.
So, we'd had a couple of questions on the table, I think from Councillor Blackstone and from Councillor Braybeck about the possibility of making a different start date to this, having it go into effect on Monday after after graduation, and I just wanted to know whether that was still on the table or open for a conversation, or how to have the discussion.
Would that be an amendment?
You'd have to make an amendment.
So if someone wants to make an amendment,
Wouldn't we have to vote on this first?
No,
no, we vote on the amendment first.
First, and
Okay,
then
all right.
Move to discuss, move to amend.
Okay,
Mhm.
sorry.
So is there an amendment?
I guess I'll move to make an amendment that, how would the wording be? That
you
the,
move to have the
Rescind-
repeal effective
Effective.
May 24th,
yes, May 20th.
May 24th,
And just,
12:01.
and have a major announcement in the Friday newspaper.
Well, that's, yeah, we do that.
So is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion on the amendment? Councillor Dumont.
Yeah, I think it's unnecessary. I think we're delaying the inevitable. We keep falling back to this notion that there's gonna be some big, awful, massive nightmare that's gonna happen. We've been dealing with the pandemic. We have public health systems in place to avoid it. I think we're just drawing it out. And I don't get why we keep drawing it out either, because it just seems like we're trying to do it for feel-good measure. You can still wear a mask. I'm still gonna wear a mask tomorrow. I'm gonna wear a mask when I leave. You know, my wife's fully vaccinated. I haven't gone down yet. Our vaccination numbers are trending upward. You know, I just don't understand the need to hold on to this like it's something so sacred.
Thank you. Councillor Blackstone.
So, the principal purpose of this amendment, in my opinion, is we're giving people warning that it's going to happen in a couple of days. It's not the UNH graduation. We're not, the biggest criticism of the CDC announcement, if you read Twitter or Apple News or you read the newspaper, everybody said it was ridiculous. They just, out of the blue, boom, it's done, right? And people said we didn't have a chance to prepare, we didn't have to think about it. What we're saying is we're not gonna repeat the CDC mistake. We're going to do it in a way, we're gonna announce it, people are gonna know about it, and then it's gonna happen.
Thank you. Councillor Brayback.
To me, the biggest thing was just I wanted to give us more time to get people that second shot before. I know that people can wear masks, but as has been noted, vaccinated people can still contract and spread the virus to unvaccinated people. And so if I'm vaccinated, not wearing a mask because I don't have to, I could still give someone COVID. And we do know that people have contracted and perished from COVID after getting only their first shot. So to me, I think the inconvenience of wearing a mask for 2.5 more weeks while we wait for people to get their vaccines finished is a burden I'm willing to bear to keep people safe, but I'm willing to compromise and have it be Monday instead, because it sounds like that's the will of the people.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Dumont.
I'm actually gonna withdraw that.
Okay. So I guess my only comment is that when we, well, I guess I disagree that people haven't had, time to prepare. I think that anybody who watches the news knows that this is inevitable. And when we enacted the ordinance, we enacted it that day. So, you know, the flip side is we didn't give people a chance to prepare. So that's my only comment. Any other comments on the amendment? So this would be waiting until Monday to rescind the ordinance. So seeing none, if you could call the roll on this again for the amendment.
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay. So next we'll be voting on the rescinding of the ordinance as it was written. So that would take effect immediately. And if there are no other comments,
Can you just remind us the nay-aye situation?
A
I'm
vote
confused.
yes is repealing the ordinance.
Yes,
A vote
yea to
nay is
repeal.
to keep the ordinance in place.
Thank you.
Can I just make one last comment before we vote? One last comment.
yes.
Realistically, I think those of us that have been avoiding restaurants and public gatherings, even after being fully vaccinated, are gonna continue to do so. I probably won't go near a restaurant for the next 3 weeks, except for takeout, and then only running in and running back out again. So I don't think those of us that are concerned are gonna change being concerned. We're not gonna stop wearing masks even though we're fully vaccinated. If we have someone in our home that we're concerned about, and I do as well, we just limit what we do. So I think seeing that this has been such a charged issue since the very beginning, I will change what I was doing last time and support the rescission.
So if you could call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Greg, you don't have to stay. Nothing.
All right, so then we have three more resolutions in the second reading, and the first is resolution 2020-2021-46. It's a resolution relating to authorizing the town manager to enter into an agreement for hosted PBX services and telephone equipment lease, and I would accept a motion to approve that resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-2021-46.
I'll second that.
Town manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before you tonight is a 3-year lease with, I forget how to say this wrong, TSE Digital Voice to replace the phone system throughout the town. We've been having a number of issues over the last few years with the phones. This is the lowest bid, and some of the benefits, one of the biggest benefits is now we will have the same phone system as the school district. That one of the things, when I was hired here in 2012, they want us to be able to pick up the phone and dial anybody in the school by hitting 4 numbers. We will finally be able to do that with this phone system. It's not to exceed $36,000 for a 3-year period, and then continuing on just for maintenance over the past that. So we are recommending passage of this resolution.
Are there any questions or comments for the town manager? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. resolution 2020-2021-47, it's naming of a certain street in town, 77 Hersey Lane subdivision. And I would accept a motion to approve that resolution.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2021-47.
I'll second that.
Did you have anything to add?
It's really, it's a road that needs a name. Everything approves. It's gonna be called, and I'm trying to,
Tanner Circle.
Tanner Circle. Nothing more than that. Yes.
Just had a question. Do we just have like a hat that we pull names out of the streets?
Usually we go with, the developer requests one. We make sure it complies with 911 regulations.
Okay.
And then if it does, unless it's some, we'll give it, yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you.
It's kind of a cool function of the town council.
Yeah.
We don't have many cool functions. So seeing no other questions, if you could call the roll.
Aye.
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 If I may, what was the final vote on the mask issue?
It was 6-1.
6-1 in favor of?
Oh,
Repeal.
it was rescinded.
It's gone.
Yes.
I thought so.
Yeah,
I just
okay.
wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item is resolution 2020-2021-48, and that's the fence installation for the splash pad area and preschool playground on the Leo Landrush Field. And I would accept a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-2021-48.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And our recreation director is here. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about it,
It's a fence.
please. It's a fence.
We need a fence.
But it's so exciting.
You know, I can talk if you want.
I mean, if you have anything that you want to say about it, you're welcome to.
You look very prepared.
I know, you're here. You may as well.
The only thing I would say is that there's part of the money is used for the splash pad fence and the other part is used for the preschool fence. The preschool used to have a fence, the preschool playground used to have a fence when it got relocated. The old fence couldn't be moved, and we thought, let's try it without, and we've been using a temporary fence for the last 2 years, because we definitely need one, for our staff to be able to herd 3 to 5-year-olds. It's just safer. And as regarding the splash pad, that was never really in the budget initially, but we realized that by having a fence around the splash pad, it'll help with prevent vandalism. It's just a barrier there. If we want to rent it for private parties, it'll help subsidize the general maintenance of it annually. And in general, during summer camp, when we have all these kids out there, if we want to open it to the public, just that area, it's fenced in, and I'm not dealing with, parents coming in and out during camp. And, especially with COVID last year, we had to kind of limit. So it's just, there's a couple of reasons why it would be helpful. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a question?
I was there yesterday, and I was really impressed by the hydraulics. I mean, there's like 8 or 10-inch pipes going through this thing. Are there giant pumps in the basement of that bathroom? I mean, I
There's
wonder,
a 3,000-gallon tank buried.
I saw that huge tank, yeah, I mean, there must be big pumps someplace.
Yes.
A
and the whole
10-inch water line, holy cow.
The whole
that's-
purpose of it is to have a filtration, a recirculation, so we are
Yeah.
not tapping into the town's water source.
Yeah. It's
Which is a
pretty
little bit
impressive.
more expensive than just, going right into the waste.
Yeah, but so it must be in the basement of the bathroom then, I guess, right?
Technically, no.
You can't yell at me anymore.
I know, I don't yell at you now.
There's, the big pipes are the drains to capture all the water and recycle it. It'll be treated and go into that big tank.
Oh,
you
so they're
saw.
just high conductance pipes,
That's what that is.
yeah.
But there is a big pump. It's inside the mechanical room. There's a couple-
Under the bathroom?
It's, no, it sets, the middle room's the mechanical room.
Oh, okay.
Next time you're down there, just take a little tour. We're usually there working.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I mean, they're sizable.
Yeah, the drains are big because there's a lot of water to capture. And it'll go into the tank and then it'll get retreated, chlorinated, and
Yeah,
used
I can
again.
see where it's, I mean, just that, I've done some hydraulic, and that pump, it's gotta be like $10-15 a foot, that stuff, right?
It's a lot more than that now.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you. Counselor,
Can I ask a real
Counselor
quick
Conley.
question? Just the difference in the height between the preschool playground fence at 4 feet and the splash pad fence at 5 feet is due to like insurance regulations or just trying to keep things higher around the water?
Just in general, from the 4-foot fence is really just to keep the children in. It's just that 4-foot fence, keep them in. As far as the decision to go 5 feet with the splash pad is more keeping people out.
Okay.
That when they're not supposed to be there. A 4-foot fence, you can hop around. 5 foot, it's a little bit more of an effort. We will be our hope is to put security cameras as well. So it's just more of a preventative.
thank you.
Any more questions?
No, I will make a comment though. I have a friend who, her daughters play soccer, and she is beyond thrilled to have a functioning bathroom, so she can't wait. Spend a lot of time at that field.
In between the restrooms is a water filling station as well. So that's definitely something that's very much needed at the
People are really
complex.
excited about this project.
Yes, and I mentioned to Rick and his team, Mulaski, he took on the GC of the restroom facility and the maintenance. So if without him, we wouldn't have had those bathrooms. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. We have a few items under new business. The first is for James Drago, and that's a ZBA board application, and I would accept a motion to approve that application.
We'll make a motion to approve James Drago to be ZBA for a term expiring in 2024.
Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And then we have two ordinances in the first reading. The first is Resolution 2020-2021-50, and it's the wastewater treatment plant solids disposal contract. Whereas the wastewater treatment plant generates 14 tons of solids per week that need to be hauled off and disposed of, and whereas due to the sludge type and the town's limited to sludge storage capacity, the town has limited sludge disposal options, and whereas the turnkey landfill has offered a 3.5-year contract extension with 3.5% per year increases. Now therefore be it resolved by the Newmarket Town Council that the Town Council authorizes the town manager to extend the turnkey landfill's contract to haul and dispose of the town of Newmarket's wastewater treatment plant solids. First reading May 19th, 2021. And then the second item is Resolution 2021-51, and that is the wastewater treatment plant Great Bay Total Nitrogen General Permit. Whereas the wastewater treatment plant has a National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit issued by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and whereas the US EPA has decided to create a NPDES permit to control total nitrogen for 13 New Hampshire wastewater treatment plants that discharge to the Great Bay estuary, and whereas the town must decide to opt in or opt out of the Great Bay Total Nitrogen General Permit, And whereas the estimated cost to opt in is $150,000 to $200,000, and opt out is $4 to $6 million. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Newmarket Town Council that the Town Council authorizes the town manager to opt in to the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Great Bay Total Nitrogen General Permit for the town's wastewater treatment facility. First reading, May 19th, 2021. Is there any correspondence to the Town Council?
There is none that came in before the deadline.
And then are there any closing comments by town councilors? Councilor Dumont.
Yes. I wasn't really sure how to start, other than by wanting to tell the town of Newmarket, thank you for the opportunity to serve you folks over the past 3 years. And while I was looking forward to another 3 years, I am happy but somewhat sad to report that my wife and I have finally purchased a home. It is in the town of, in the city of Rochester, so we're leaving Newmarket. I've really enjoyed living here the past 5 years. There are 101 different projects that I would have liked to continue to help work on from the town council side, but I guess I'll be lobbying as a private citizen in the near future. I wanted to extend my sincerest thanks to Tony, who's served as our council chair for a couple of years now. I wanted to thank our town manager, Steve Fournier, and the entire structure that is Newmarket government. All of the fantastic department heads that I've had the opportunity to work with over the past 3 years, who have taught me a hell of a lot about town government and the complexity that goes into it. I just wanted to say thank you and good luck. And for my fellow town councilors, I just want to remind you that town government is what you make of it. Be involved, be active, go out there, try to recruit more people into it, because the only way for this to continue is if we have more people to replace those who go off and do other things later on. So just stay active, stay connected to the community. And if there's anybody who wants to get involved, this seat's going to be open soon. So that's all I had to say, but thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to comment, if I may, that Zachary, we're going to miss you. So you've been a really important part of the council for the last 3.5 years. So I wish you and Alex the best, and in your new home. And before long, Rochester will feel like home. So enjoy it.
Thank you.
And again, thanks for everything. So with that, we have a process. We have been through it a few times now, and hopefully at this point, everyone is familiar with what we need to do. So, so tonight is your final meeting.
Correct.
And we are making the announcement this evening, which means that we can ask for applications or.
Yep, the clerk will accept applications from those interested to fill out the term. It'll be till March. Then they will run for election to the seat. We do need a letter from you, though, to the clerk.
Yes.
Okay, a signed letter. But that's,
The letter that I sent to you and Tony can be used.
okay.
I think there was just a private section on the bottom half that was
Yep.
not germane.
Was it an email or was it a letter? I can't remember.
I think I sent it in a Word document via email.
We need a signed.
Oh, all
So-
right.
If you could just drop something off or say it.
Thanks.
So if we open that up for a period until our next meeting, I think that that's reasonable.
I think that, I gotta look at what the charter says. There's a specific date,
Oh, right.
but I'll come up with that. Surprised I don't remember, but I will look it up and get it to everybody.
Yeah. So if anyone out there is interested, I think getting that application to the town clerk or completed, with the town clerk as soon as possible probably makes sense, because I think last time we just had a 2-week
Yeah.
turnaround, but I could be wrong. So in a perfect world, we would have this position filled, because it's an important position. Obviously, all of our positions are important. So, okay. Any other comments? I did just want to make one comment, and that's, again, if people are interested in in finding ways to be involved. I mentioned earlier that I had the opportunity to walk with the Sunrise Center today, and it was an awesome walk. It was a guided walk with Suzanne Peterson, who is from the Lamprey River Advisory Council, and Newmarket actually has 4 seats that, so 4 appointees to that group, and currently only 1 is filled. So we have 3 open seats on the Lamprey River Advisory Council. So if you know anybody who's interested in conservation and water, and it's a great opportunity for somebody to be involved. So I just wanted to mention that. And it was, we just as an aside, she took us to a vernal pool off the Sweet Trail, which I've been on the Sweet Trail a gazillion times. I never knew that this vernal pool was there. It was like really just a few steps off the trail, and it was so cool. She put her waders on and like got frogs for us to look at, and fairy shrimp, which I'd never heard of before, and salamander eggs. And so it was just a really neat experience. I'm like a honorary member of the Sunrise Center. I'm not quite at the threshold, although everyone is welcome for the walks. So
Tony, who's the member that's currently on the Lamprey River Advisory Council?
I asked that, and she told me, and I don't recall, because I didn't know the name, and so I don't remember. You don't know by chance. It wasn't, I thought it was actually Chris Blackstone, but it's not. So,
I know she goes in those lots, but.
yeah, but I thought that she represented Newmarket on the Lamprey River Advisory Council. I think maybe at one point she did, but she doesn't anymore.
Yeah. The only thing she's not on, I guess.
Right, exactly. So it was a name that I didn't recognize, and so it didn't stick. And seeing no other comments, then I will consider us adjourned. Our next meeting is June 2nd. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.